In addition to the payload, a message in RabbitMQ can also have headers. Check that out on our message. Whoa! This contains a big JSON structure of the original class name and the data and class names of the stamps attached to the message. Why did Messenger do this? Well, find your terminal and consume the async transport. Bin console messenger:/consume -vv async. This still works. Internally, the Symfony serializer uses the info on the headers to figure out how to take this simple JSON string and turn it into the correct object. It used the type header to know that the JSON should become an image post deleted event object, and then looped over the stamps and turned each of those back into stamp objects for the envelope. The really nice thing about using the Symfony serializer in Messenger is that the payload is this simple, pure JSON structure that can be consumed by any application in any language. It does contain some PHP class info on the headers, but another app can just ignore that. But thanks to those headers, if the same app does both send and consume a message, the Symfony serializer can still be used. But wait, if that's true, if the Symfony serializer creates messages that can be consumed by external systems or by our same app, then why isn't it the default serializer in Messenger? An excellent question. The reason is that the Symfony serializer requires your classes to follow a few rules in order to be serialized and unserialized correctly. Like each property needs a setter method or a constructor argument where the name matches the property name. If your class doesn't follow those rules, you can end up with a property that is set on the original object, but suddenly becomes null when it's read from the transport. No fun. In other words, the PHP serializer is easier and more dependable when everything is done by the same app. Anyways, if you are using the Symfony serializer, there are also a few things that can be configured. Find your terminal and run bin console config:/dump framework messenger. Check out that Symfony_serializer key. This is where you configure the behavior of the serializer, the format, JSON, XML, or something else, and the context, which is an array of options for the serializer. Of course, you could also create a totally custom serializer service. And if you have the opposite workflow to what we just described, one where your app consumes messages that were sent to Rabbit from some other system, a custom serializer is exactly what you need. Let's talk about that next.